The month of June is Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Month, also known as PTSD. According to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, about 6 out of every 100 people in the U.S. will have PTSD at some point in their lives. And about 5 out of every 100 adults in the U.S. has PTSD in any given year. Women are more likely to develop PTSD than men, and about 8 of every 100 women and 4 of every 100 men will have PTSD again at some point in their life. So today I am joined by our counselor, a familiar face here on News 19 this morning, Ms. Jennifer Wolff, to talk about exactly what this disorder looks like. First of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Right, Whitney, well, thank you so much for having me back and to talk about something that's so incredibly important, the awareness.
Absolutely. Right. So I want to start with this. We hear the word PTSD a lot. What exactly is it?
Well, PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's basically an anxiety condition that can develop from people that are exposed to a traumatic event. And there are many components that, that tie into that. The research shows that people that have been exposed to more prolonged trauma or human-inflicted trauma may be more impacted, just because, and anybody is susceptible to post-traumatic stress disorder. However, it's important to understand that everybody who's exposed to a traumatic event or trauma doesn't necessarily develop PTSD. There are, in fact, you really don't diagnose it until 30 days after the exposure to a traumatic event. And that's a misconception. I believe that it's overused somewhat.
Thank you so much for clearing that up. And I love that you pointed out the fact that PTSD does not discriminate. Anybody can get PTSD, but there are levels to all of this.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to ask about this. So we've been talking about, anybody can get PTSD. How do you know that you're struggling with this? What are the signs? What are the symptoms?
Right. Well, there's 3 areas. Usually we call it, there's re-experiencing the event, where you're reliving it over and over again. I always say it's the tape recorder in the head and the visions, so there's reliving. There can be avoidance also. Just, I don't want to be exposed to this. There's triggers involved. And then there's the hyperarousal, the arousal symptoms, where you're having difficulty sleeping, you're having the difficulty with the whole belief system. Example, if my mother tells me, hey, be nice to people, then they'll be nice to you, and I am, and you hurt me in some way and expose me, then my whole, well, wait a minute, what do I believe? And the 3 about the world, about myself, the 3 areas that are impacted the most usually after exposure are trust, safety, and predictability. So I want to say also that it's not necessarily just an emotional thing, it's more of a physiological thing, like it implants in the body. So it's the body's way of handling what has overwhelmed.
If somebody hears what you're just saying and says, I think that's me, I think that I am struggling with PTSD, what resources are available? Oh,
there's several, Whitney, and thank goodness we're talking about this to you just help decrease the stigma. One of the best websites is National Center of PTSD, which is online, that has a lot of good information. It's that is the main one that I can think of. There are several, to see a therapist, there's several online. What's important though is to make sure that if you seek out a provider, that they are specifically trained in trauma.
Okay.
There are a lot of folks out there that are saying I am, that they aren't necessarily, and then some people say, well, I don't want to go see a therapist. I don't want to go look at medication because I'm not sleeping. There are several things that you can do on your own. There's several apps that you can download on your phone. PTSD Coach is one I'm thinking about. There's several, if you just Google, hey, best apps for PTSD, there's lots of information there. So you can self-manage on your own. It's also extremely important that families and loved ones understand what it is and what it isn't, and how they can help, what's helpful, what's not.
That's such good information. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on this morning to raise awareness about this, break the stigma, and remember, we say this all the time, there is never any shame in getting help. Thank you again, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.